Right now, inside your skull, your prefrontal cortex is burning through glucose like a furnace left running overnight. And here's what nobody's telling you. The smarter you are, the worse it gets. Not because your brain is broken, because it literally refuses to shut off. A recent Johns Hopkins study found something that should have been headline news. They watched people's brains in real time during hours of cognitive tasks. What they discovered was a direct feedback loop that explains why mental effort doesn't just tire you out, it fundamentally changes how your brain makes every decision that follows. The fatigued brain doesn't just get slower, it begins to reject effort entirely, even when the reward is worth it. If you're someone who thinks constantly, obsessively, that loop is running on overdrive every single day. This isn't motivational fluff. This is metabolic neuroscience. It all starts with a chemical problem most people won't touch because it's too technical, but it's the key. Your lateral prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain doing all the heavy lifting for cognitive control, working memory, impulse suppression, basically every smart thing you do, has a dirty secret. When it works hard, it doesn't just burn energy, it accumulates a substance called glutamate. Glutamate is the brain's main excitatory neurotransmitter. It's essential for neurons to communicate. But when it builds up after hours of intense thinking, it becomes a toxic sludge. A landmark study in Current Biology measured this in real time. After just 6 hours of demanding tasks, participants had a significant accumulation of glutamate, specifically in their lateral prefrontal cortex, the exact region that highly intelligent people use the most. This connects directly to something called the neural efficiency hypothesis. It states that smarter brains actually use less energy for easy tasks. They're like a fuel-efficient car. But here's the catch nobody talks about. When the task gets complex, and intelligent people actively seek complexity, their brains don't stay efficient. They go from a fuel-efficient sedan to a jet engine, recruiting far more cortical resources than an average brain, and that jet engine produces a lot of exhaust. That exhaust is glutamate, building up, hour after hour. But that's only half the story. The other half is a paradox. It involves a system called the default mode network, or DMN. This is what activates when you're not focused on the outside world, when you're daydreaming or your mind is wandering. Most people think it's the brain's rest mode. It's not. It's one of the most metabolically expensive networks you have. It constructs your sense of self, it simulates futures, it processes social data. It's the engine of your inner world. And here's the paradox. Researchers found that after prolonged cognitive work, the DMN doesn't recover. Its activity drops significantly. The healthy opposition between your focus network and your internal network collapses. Your brain's recovery system gets damaged by the very effort it's supposed to be recovering from. For intelligent people, this is catastrophic. Higher cognitive ability is linked to a more active DMN at baseline, that constant internal monologue, the abstract reasoning, the pattern seeking that never stops. So when DMN recovery fails, they don't just feel tired, they feel hollow, disconnected, like their brain is unplugged from itself. That's not laziness you're feeling, it's network-level systems failure. It's the price of a brain that can't and won't turn off.
Let's talk about decision fatigue. But forget the pop psychology version you've heard 1,000 times about Steve Jobs wearing the same turtleneck to save brain power. The reality is a far more specific biological spiral. Recent research reveals that when your dorsolateral prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain handling complex thought and executive function, becomes fatigued from sustained effort, it sends altered, corrupted signals to another region called the insula. Now, the insula's job is crucial. It computes effort versus value trade-offs. It essentially recalculates whether any given action is truly worth it. In a fatigued state, the insula's threshold for what's worthwhile completely shifts. Actions that would normally seem manageable, finishing a project, having a meaningful conversation, even just getting out of bed, suddenly get flagged as too costly. Not because the task itself has changed, but because the prefrontal cortex is feeding it corrupted data. This is not a willpower problem, it's a signal processing error at the neurobiological level. And here's the kicker: intelligent people are disproportionately affected. Why? Because they make more cognitively demanding decisions per hour than average. This isn't just about work, it's everywhere. They're analyzing social dynamics in real time. They're running probabilistic models about whether to take a different route home. They're evaluating the logical consistency of a comment someone made 3 hours ago. Every single one of those micro computations cost prefrontal glucose. Every one generates glutamate, an excitatory neurochemical, and every one degrades the signal quality between the prefrontal cortex and the insula. By 3 p.m., the intelligent brain isn't just tired, it's operating on corrupted firmware. But there's one more piece to this puzzle that almost nobody discusses: the acetylcholine trap. Highly intelligent and introverted brains, and research shows significant overlap, tend to run on a different neurochemical fuel. While extroverted brains are heavily dopamine driven, seeking external stimulation for that hit of reward, introverted and deeply analytical brains rely more on acetylcholine pathways. Acetylcholine is the neurochemical that rewards deep thinking, internal focus, following long chains of abstract reasoning. It's what makes sitting alone with a complex problem feel genuinely satisfying. But acetylcholine dominant processing is slow, it's thorough, and it's metabolically expensive in a completely different way. It keeps the prefrontal cortex engaged for longer periods, at deeper levels of activation, with none of the burst and release patterns that dopamine provides. The result is that the analytical brain doesn't get the neurochemical breaks a dopamine-seeking brain gets. There's no quick hit of reward followed by a reset. Instead, it's a long, sustained burn. It's the difference between sprinting and running an ultramarathon. The sprinter recovers faster. The ultramarathon runner accumulates cellular damage that doesn't show up until the race is over. That's why intelligent people often crash hard, not gradually. They function at a high level all day, then suddenly hit a wall, because the acetylcholine system doesn't give you warning signals the way dopamine does. It just stops. So let's put this all together. If you're someone who thinks constantly, deeply, and can't seem to turn it off, your prefrontal cortex is accumulating glutamate faster than it can be cleared. Your insula is receiving degraded signals, making everything feel harder than it should. And your acetylcholine dominant neurochemistry keeps you locked in deep processing mode without the dopamine breaks that would let your system reset. You are not lazy. You are not depressed. You are not just tired. Your brain is a high-performance engine running on a fuel system designed for a bicycle. And the fatigue you feel, that is the cost of a nervous system that was built to understand everything in a world that never stops demanding that it does. If this described your brain, drop a comment. I want to know, when does your crash usually hit? 2 p.m., 6 p.m., midnight? Let me know.